Beca Helicopters got started in 1996. We did a business plan to start a helicopter training school because Mike was quite a senior pilot, and he felt there wasn't enough flight schools out there that taught with passion. There was a lot of retired guys teaching, and so we spent a year planning. We planned everything. If there was a plan to be had, we had it. Finance, marketing. We went to the bank and borrowed about $65,000 to buy an old clunky helicopter called Oscar, which we still have, and borrowed another $100,000 operational costs, and that's how we got started.
It's a matter of having a vision of what you want to do, and that's evolved over the years as things have grown. I guess one of the biggest things we didn't do in the early days was actually think or dream big enough. Big was quite big, but it wasn't big enough. The biggest thing you have to learn to do in business though is actually make a decision. Now, as long as about 70% of them are good, you're good to go. If 25% of them are bad, that doesn't matter, as long as you're making decisions. The worst thing that you can do in a business though is not make any decision whatsoever. So I think we've made good decisions to look at different types of helicopters. I think we've made good decisions about where we did our training. I think we made good decisions on the markets that we pursued. And obviously we're happy to make decisions, which is a big plus.
Winning the Telstra Business Award there was so much talent in the rooms. You know, you the regional and then go national. It just says that the team, they're doing it. They're doing it right. They're doing it well, and it allows Beca Helicopters on a world stage to be recognised for its innovation. The original business plan was very, I went to a course, 21 hours in business planning, and I wrote the business plan based on that. Marketing, finance, etc. And it was very generic. There was nothing in there that was innovative. It was just pure, solid business planning. When we sat down again, we said, what do we have to do different? We have to have a point of difference. We have to have something that somebody else doesn't have. So it had to be almost unachievable. So we went to the bank, we went to Trade Queensland, we went to Austrade, and we said, this is what we're looking at doing, we need some more input. And we hunted down what we felt was an innovative product, and that was training military pilots to night vision goggles, which is the pinnacle of training, in a civilian environment. And it took us almost 3 years to get the license. So the thing that we did differently, we had to find something different. And the other thing we did is we did it in stages. We couldn't, they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's the same with a business plan. If that's what we wanted, we knew we had to build it in stages, because growth can be just as destroying to a company, rapid growth, as a rapid decline. So we looked at it far more strategically than we ever did before. And we looked at it from a visionary point of view, and then we slotted the numbers in afterwards. You have to be able to do things in stages. We couldn't go out and buy 20 helicopters, but we could buy 5 at a time with the bank. That's the palette of lending or borrowing. We couldn't have trained 100 pilots a year straight up, because we couldn't have got enough instructors, enough classrooms, enough infrastructure, enough airspace, enough training areas. So we did it incrementally. And even that was rapid. So incremental growth is if you believe, if we wanted a fleet of 20 helicopters, which we did, we want a fleet of 50 helicopters, but we will grow it in stages, because you've got to have the key people that can run that unit. And I think that's critical. So for us, that was really important. And that business plan and that strategic plan, for the first time, we had the incremental growth. And I think that helped us stay focused as well, not to take on too much. We entered into the Export Awards and Business Awards for years, because they ask you questions that you don't think of asking yourself. So it hones down your skills in areas that you wouldn't. It's like we love audits, because whilst they're stressful, they give you a completely unique view of your business. If somebody comes to your business and audits you, and they ask you a bunch of questions you never asked yourself, you can then say, well, what do other organisations do? Or are we doing it best practice? What are some of your ideas? And I think that's the key. People are afraid of audits and they're afraid of going into awards because they think the process is too arduous. Because you don't go into the awards for money and those sorts of things. You go into it to see, are you on the right track? Are you willing to put your money where your mouth is?